Hello. My name is Dustina. This is Spiritually Boujee Astrology, and we're going to take a deep dive into a full moon in Aries. Please note my air quotations. Okay, here's the deal. I put the week ahead episode out on Friday because I wanted to spend the weekend meditating. I just Friday evening, Saturday, Sunday morning, I want to meditate on the full moon. What's coming through in the full moon? Full moon, go outside, look at the moon. It's so pretty. Full moon, full moon, full moon, full moon. Tell me what's coming through in the full moon. Meditate, meditate. Full moon. Mercury. What? No, full moon. This is real. Full moon. Not okay, not really. I don't really go outside screaming full moon. My neighbors really look at me weird. But it's just like I'm focused here. Look, pretty. Mercury. What is this? So I have some layers. And I feel like there really is an activation of a test this week. Now, the full moon in Aries is a full moon in a Mars ruled sign. Where is Mars? In the other Mars ruled sign, Scorpio. But right as we go into the full moon, there is another planetary change that's happening on the day of the full moon. And I covered it in the month ahead and the week ahead forecast already. That is the arrival of Mercury. Mercury will also move into a Mars ruled sign. So again, full moon, full moon. Let's talk about this full moon. Mercury. So this tells me the arrival of Mercury coming into Scorpio is just as important as the full moon. And for a lot of people, whatever is going to happen Monday, Tuesday, the most exact, those are the first 2 days of Mercury changing signs, there will be news, a decision, arrivals, filings, letters, communication, phone call. I'm thinking of every freaking thing, smoke signals. There's going to be something news wise that's coming through, some level of communication, some kind of conversation that's coming through Monday and Tuesday that is being amplified as to how important it is in the full moon in Aries. Now, I will admit, when I was doing the month ahead notes and dates and all that, I kept looking around this time as to like, what's going to be the activation for some of that more pertinent stuff that will take shape around the 20th? Because I'm very heavy on the 20th. And I was meditating on it before, and I couldn't get a clear definition. Part of me looked at the full moon in Aries. Part of me was looking at the Pluto turning direct, because we're literally about a week away. A week after this full moon, Pluto turns direct. I was looking, is it Pluto? Is it the full moon? But I kept kind of missing it. Now, over the weekend, all weekend, the moon was in Pisces. Not a big deal. That is where the last full moon eclipse was. That about a month ago, around September 7th, we had the full moon eclipse in Pisces. And while the moon's going back to Pisces, I'm still in that meditative mode. We're gearing up in the build up to this full moon in Aries. But again, all of my energy keeps going back to Mercury. That's annoying. And it tells me something. It tells me that whatever was unfolding through the Virgo eclipse season, because remember, we had 2 new moons in Virgo, 2 of them. We had the black moon, August 23rd. We had the actual Virgo eclipse on September 21st. Whoever you were dealing with, it does not always have to be new. Some of you guys were, every time some new transit comes through, you really do expect something brand spanking new to come through, or some person brand spanking new to come through. And when it isn't some like shiny red ball level of new, you're like, but nothing happened. But then after we talk in our one-on-ones, you're like, well, I met with so and so when I talked to my ex and they came back around, and I'm not projecting, There was a multitude of you that had the exact same story of like nothing happened. But then whenever we really broke down the day, the weekend, or whatever, you're like, well, I hung out with my girlfriends and we talked about this new business, or I met up with an ex and we talked about what we want. And it's like doing nothing, having nothing happen means you stayed at home the entire day and literally nothing happened. I need y'all to really pay attention to whatever you were doing through those Virgo new moons. Take a step back and look at it from an outside perspective. Things happened those days. And I feel like whatever happened in those Virgo new moons, plural, throughout the more highly dominant, Virgo was the more dominant energy through eclipse season. The sun was in Virgo the entire time. We had Mercury in Virgo. Since then, we've had Venus going through in Virgo, giving us some results. And even over this weekend, while I'm meditating on full moon in Aries, Venus made a conjunction to the South Node in Virgo. And again, everything I'm meditating towards goes full moon, Mercury. This is not right. It's not. It's weird. And it tells me we still have activations from the Virgo side of the eclipses that are starting to build forward. They are starting to become more solid. They are starting to come through in this energy. Some of the people that we've connected with, some of the communication, some of the planning, some of that vibration of the decisions, some of where we've started doing our appointments, where we've been running our business out of, whatever we started the transition of through September between Mercury's arrival into Scorpio, which coincides with happening on the same day as the full moon in Aries, both seem very, very important. And I feel like this arrival is truly being solidified, amplified in its timeliness because of the full moon in Aries. This is an activation that's going to lead to some decisions. This is the arrival of certain people, certain ideas, certain plans, certain documentation, certain filings. Some of it is going to be court related because we're talking about Mercury stuff. Some of the plans in regards to our travel and where we're going and who we're seeing, what we're navigating, what we're talking through, literally through the full moon, because that includes the arrival of Mercury going into Scorpio, and it's going to include that Mercury Pluto square, which is more exact on Tuesday, hours after the full moon perfects, but still a part of the full moon. We still get this square. There is something directly about this full moon that ties back to everything that we've just dealt with through Virgo season, through eclipse season. And now it is solidifying something. Now, for a lot of people, you're still too close to your own situation. You have absolutely no idea what's going on. And we don't always know how to take account. I understand that sometimes it really does take objective views. You can see other people's problems. I hear this all the time with other readers. They're like, I can read for other people, but I can't read for myself. That's because you truly don't know how to look at your own stuff objectively. Because if you can withdraw from your own stuff, you can see your own stuff. We got to move the ego out of the way. And you don't have to be egotistical for your ego to be in your way, just to be clear. It's usually more along the lines of, but this is what I want, but that's not what the energy is telling us. And we don't want to believe that. So again, we're too close and we're just focused on what we want. Tangent, I'm sorry. There's something about the arrival of Mercury going into Scorpio that brings news, decision, communication, something extra. This direct energy is again being amplified by the full moon. Now, what I anticipated with the amplification of the full moon is it was going to be something that ties back to that Mars rebirth from 2 years ago. And for a lot of people, I still think it will. But I also feel like we've had so much happen since said Mars rebirth from back in November of 2023 that the present energy is dominating, which is fine, that long-term vibration from before. We needed the long-term vibration the 2 years ago, by the way, to get us to this point. But now where we are in present energy is more dominant than the intentions that we set 2 years ago. And Mercury is the heavier of that energy. It is the heavier in regards to the fact that Mercury does the most. Actually, the moon does the most because the moon changes signs every 2 to 2.5 days. Right now, it's like literally every 2, but in the summertime, it's more like 2.5. Next to the moon, Mercury does the most. Anywhere between 3 to 4 retrogrades a year. We get about 7 Cazimis a year, not including everything else that Mercury does. And of course, Mercury rules our logical brain. Mercury does the most. There's something about the news that's coming through this week that whatever Mercury rules for you is going to be a part of that vibration. And it again is going to be bringing some things up to the surface, things that we did not know. Now, the thing about that full moon in Aries is it's a reactive energy. Whatever news is coming through, we have to react immediately. We have to step into something that we did not anticipate. We have to focus on something that we did not anticipate. The thing about Mars energy is it's always disruptive, but it's either chaotic disruptive or pivotal disruptive. This is the way I look at Mars. As a Scorpio rising, I'm a Mars ruled individual. This is the way that I look at Mars. There are some times that Mars, being the god of war, is going to come through and really make a mess of everything. He gonna tear some shit up. It is what it is. And we've seen that manifest in people before as chaotic energy. You have a job posting, you have somebody that applies for it, and on paper, Mercury stuff, on paper, they look awesome. They have all these great levels of experience. They have all these certifications. You call their references. It's like they're made of gold. All you got to do is interview, hire, slide them into place, give them 1 or 2 logins and a day or 2 of training, and they should be great. However, once they're in, you learn that this wonderful resume was a work of art. All those references, those were his stoner buddies from college. Like, we have no idea the level of what we're getting into in regards to how disruptive this person is going to be to the workflow until they're in it. And then you got your other people that are in these positions that keep having to cover for the person, clean up a mess, and it turns into chaos. Chaotic Mars, pivotal Mars, TED Talk like Mars. That person that comes through, that once you go through something with them, once you experience that conversation, once you go through that rabbit hole, once they take you to that place, put you on a path of adventure, give you this different level of experience, there's literally no way to go backwards. That presence, that energy was so disruptive. That event was so disruptive, but pivotally disruptive of like, I can't unsee, unlearn, undo what has been done. Pivotal Mars. The arrival of Mercury during this Mars-ruled full moon is going to be some level of news, communication, decision, arrival that is either quite pivotal in the direction of how the next 6 months are going to go, or it is going to be the harbinger of chaos. And it really kind of comes down to, again, where we are in alignment when this arrival comes through. Now, for some people, the arrival is going to be an opportunity. Hey, there's this thing over here. You should look at it. We should talk. We should have a meeting. We should put some things in order, get some coffee. It doesn't have to be chaotic in the moment. It can be exciting. An exciting phone call, a breakthrough opportunity. Hey, I saw you're working on this. I'd love to have some time with you. I want to hear what this project is, and maybe we can do something together. Maybe we can team up. Maybe we can make something happen. There's something there in that news. And I do feel like for some people, it is exciting. And it's going to be this energy, this decision, this communication, because I'm also thinking Mercury will square Pluto in the same 24 hours as the full moon, that helps us recognize a shift, how we can turn something around, how we can end some kind of power struggle. I'm thinking Pluto stuff now, how we can let go of some kind of fear and really push forward to something. But we don't necessarily know exactly what we're getting into. We can't see everything. And I feel like the activation of this full moon, the arrival of opportunity, the arrival of the documents, the filing, the decision, the information, whatever is being had, is either going to set the stage for how pivotal or chaotic the next 6 months are going to be for certain people. Because again, we have something else going on between Mercury and Mars that's going to go in more exact, roughly around the 20th, 19th, 20th, depending on your time zone. I just keep saying 20th, and I said that in the month ahead. Then I'll probably just reference the one date, but really, like, it's the days around it. Anywhere from the 17th to the 24th, like, it's the days around it. The 20th. Of whenever we come to an agreement. That's what's more likely to happen around the 20th. There's going to be some kind of coming together. But I feel like the predecessor to what that is, the decision of what that is, the news of what that is, that's going to be coming through around the 20th. I feel like we find out about it this week. The first little inklings, the first little glimpse. And the thing is the glimpse, it's going to be very, very hard to realize. Are you chaotic or are you going to be pivotal? Is this really in the best interest for everyone? Or is this just going to give me something that I want for the moment? Regardless, it feels like the start of a test. It feels like the start of a learning lesson. And in the week ahead forecast, I did a lot of comparisons to like children, because there's so much of this behavior of the week that feels very childlike. That's how new it feels. That's how exciting it feels. There's something very new and childlike, and that level of exciting coming through. Now, the thing is, you don't always know who on the schoolyard is your friend. You don't always know who you want to play on the monkey bars with. Sometimes you're the new kid at school and you don't know what about, you need to know about groups and cliques and behaviors. And there's always that situation where the first person that comes through, whether it was whenever you go to a new school or you go to a new job, the first person that pinpoints on you, you don't necessarily know if they have the best idea in mind for you, if they're really the best fit for who you want to work with and who you want to talk to. But yet they're the one that gave the olive branch. So we engage, not knowing that they're really a bully. Now, some of it will go well. You'll have some kind of opportunity of, again, just something you don't know and you don't understand that's coming through that feels exciting. But you don't know the depths of everything quite yet. And you just have to trust in your own intuition as you go through this week. But I feel like for a lot of us, there is going to be some kind of new arrival. Specifically, if you are cardinal signs or fixed signs. This is the full moon in Aries. Aries is a cardinal sign. So it's Aries, Cancer, Libra, Capricorn. Cardinal signs. Fixed signs. Mercury is going to enter Scorpio. Scorpio is a fixed sign. Scorpio, Taurus, Aquarius, Leos. In these areas with these people, a lot of the vibration feels like the arrival of something new, of someone new. Some of you are presenting the opportunity, but you're presenting it blindly to someone that you're not familiar with. You just have an idea of. Some of you are going to have something presented to you, have some kind of arrival documentation coming through that at first it's very, very frustrating and triggering. But as soon as we get through it, as soon as we work through the situation, as soon as we overcome the conversation, we're fine. For some people, the activation of the full moon is going to be a completion. We're not doing something anymore. But it's the arrival of that news that tells you, oh, no, 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 baby. I'm not playing this game with you. I won't be this situation. I won't be in the cat and mouse stuff. No, 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 no. And it leads to completion, because a lot of times full moons can be completions. For other people, it's going to be the activation. For a few more, it's going to be the level up activation. And that takes me back to the Mars rebirth energy of 2 years ago. But some of you have no idea what that level up is going to be in, what it's feeding off of. And that's why I'm giving the range that I am when it comes to this vibration. Because there's more than one thing going on, more than one area of the sky being highlighted and activated. And it feels like whatever new, triggering, frustrating, for some exciting, activating news, communication, decision, person, conversation, whatever it is, around Monday, Tuesday, that for a lot of people, you spend the rest of the week doing some digging. Never heard of this person. I want to know more. Want to figure some things out. Want to do my homework. I want to do some diligence. That's not a bad thing. For other people, it's going to be that news conversation, the situation. We need to find a solution. We need to make another kind of decision. We need to work something out. We need to overcome something. We need to fix something. And there's something that speaks to that overcoming level of vibration, because there was a lot over this week that was very solution oriented. For other people, it's not solution, it's deep dive. I got to know more. I got to figure something out. I got to know what's going on below the surface. And that really speaks through the volumes of Mercury going through Scorpio. This start of Mercury in Scorpio. There will be arrivals, amplified activations of news, of decisions, of communication. For some people, that news and communication, it will be disruptive. Full moon in Aries, Mars ruled sign. There will be disruption. However that disruption plays out, it is either going to be pivotal disruption or chaotic disruption. There doesn't feel like there's much of an in-between. And usually with Mars, these are the options. Now, the other thing that it can come through with is the news is going to be someone talking about their hidden desires. The thing about Scorpio is there's an underbelly to everything. There's a topical side, and then there's an underbelly. And Mars being in Scorpio for a little bit, there has been little inklings of hidden desires that have been coming to the surface of our mind, but we have not spoken them yet. We have not acted upon them yet. We have not done something with them yet. And the activation of the full moon might be to finally tell someone, Mercury, tell someone how you feel. Now, that level of desire can be a multitude of things. It's not just one thing. Some people hear desire and they only think of like a sexual romanticized version. That is not always the case. Some levels of desire can be freedom. Some levels of desire can be ambitious. It can be about taking something to the next level. It can be working through something and finally feeling like in this full moon that we can declare what we want to change. And it's like as soon as we declare it, we speak it into existence, we speak it into the world, it's real. It's the plan. It's tangible. It can be activated. It can be the plan of action. Immediately upon bringing it to light and bringing it to the surface. There's something very, very telling in this full moon that coincides with the arrival of Mercury going into Scorpio. Because again, as I'm meditating on it, full moon, hello, full moon, Mercury. Why? The only thing that makes sense is the fact that Venus is still in Virgo. And immediately after this full moon, Venus will be going over an area of the sky where we had that second Virgo new moon, the actual eclipse. And by the end of this actual week, Venus will hit the opposition to Saturn. Even if it's not the degree of where the new moon was, it still feels like one part of the result. And for a lot of people, the Saturday through the Monday after the full moon in Aries. So the following weekend brings up the next layer of something to the surface, something that we're going to work through, something that we're going to communicate, something that we need to deal with, something that we need to handle that has been going on below the scenes, behind the walls for a while, behind the scenes, below the surface, that kind of thing. It's going to be the arrival of the new potential, the new possibility, the new news. Not everybody's going to be able to immediately pinpoint if this is pivotal or chaotic, but it's a part of what we need to do. And if the next 5 months is just an amplified fast track of being able to get into something new, remember, October is laying a lot of groundwork for what will get revealed in January and what will be solidified in 2026. So there's a necessity for the groundwork. And sometimes that groundwork, whether you like it or not, it's going to get messy. We're going to get muddy. It's going to get dirty. It's going to get messy. But this particular moment doesn't quite feel like it's messy just yet. It feels like the news. It feels like the decision. It feels like the activation that will lead to the future vibration of whether something is going to be messy or not, chaotic or pivotal. Because for some odd reason, a full moon in Aries, my intuition wants to focus on Mercury. Anyways, okay. Now, if you have never heard a full moon or new moon video before, that is perfectly okay. A lot of people don't know this, but after I show you your cards, I do post these cards on Facebook. I always forget to say that, but I wanted to go ahead and say that this time. So you can always go to Facebook or Instagram and you can take a screenshot of your cards because I post it based off rising sign. I read everything from a whole house system. What that means is I don't care if your ascendant is at 2 degrees or 22 degrees, whatever zodiac sign your ascendant is in, that entire zodiac sign is your first house. And then every numerical house that follows is associated with the next zodiac sign. So with that being said, I'm getting straight into everything. With Aries and Aries risings, here we go, my loves. This is a full moon in your first house. You're the problem. In some ways, you're the problem. You feel something going on. There is some kind of news, some kind of decision coming through, most likely coming from the other side, because right before Mercury went into Aries, Mercury was in a Libra, of course, which is your 7th house of relationships and partnerships and just other people in general. There's some kind of news, some kind of communication that can have a financial impact. I'm saying financial because Mars, your chart ruler, is also in the eighth house. It's also in Scorpio. A lot of you, whatever is starting to come together again, is a long time coming. This can go back to like that 2023 time span of the things that have come to light, the things that we either could not face completely or had been unable to face because life is life. And now it's finally time to let something go, to release something, to purge something, to pay something off, to deal with some kind of debt, to deal with some type of secret. The other thing about the eighth house and the fact that Mercury and Mars are going into the eighth house is the eighth house is a house of secrets. It's a house of affairs. It doesn't have to be your secret. Now, you could be dealing with a secret that is somebody else's. So again, it feels like for a lot of people, especially with you guys, you are forced to deal with something, some kind of news, some kind of situation that has a financial impact because Mars and Mercury are in that eighth house. Death, debt, taxes, inheritance, insurance, child support. I'm thinking of everything that where you get money from other people. Investments, investment properties. There can be some kind of news about like rental properties or something like that. Some kind of news or communication about a payout, some kind of filing of some sort. When Mercury was in the seventh before it went into the eighth. So this filing immediately has a financial impact. And it feels like for some of you, it's either going to be one of two situations, this new thing. It is either going to be something that was a long time coming that we hadn't been able to face quite yet. So we have this Eight of Swords energy that you've either been waiting for. I'm going to do this Hermit card in two different directions. You've either been waiting on some kind of news from another side, and that's this Hermit card, or it's once you get some kind of news, some kind of decision, you start to withdraw, and that takes me to this Hermit card. It's kind of a mixed bag with some of you. Some of you, it's going to be one of those things that as soon as some kind of news gets solidified, brought to light, it's going to be pushing something forward. You might not get it directly in this full moon in regards to the full amount of the decision. It might be something that again comes closer to the 20th, but it's like the writing's on the wall here that again, either you've been waiting for a long time to finally let something go, to finally do something different, to finally go into a new vibration, full moon in the first, or it's going to push you into hermit mode. And what I'm looking at is Saturn was in your first house and it retrograde back into Pisces. By the time we get to that same 20th date, that time frame, Neptune will also retrograde back into Pisces. That's going to be exact on the 23rd, but it's still those same few days that I've already been harping about for about a week now, just say it that way, for a couple of days, a week, something like that. So some things might push you back into some level of energy. Now we have this Temperance card. We're trying to get something set. We want our head and heart to be in alignment. And either this release in the full moon will allow for some kind of head and heart in alignment. For other people, again, if you go into that crabby crab hermit situation of withdrawing from some people, the withdrawal is going to feel necessary for you to be able to overcome or finally turn something around. And if you have to do the turnaround, that might be the thing that takes the 6-month window to finally do. Because what I'm thinking, Mercury Mars conjunctions, that they're going to start around the 20th. The final one is going to happen in April in Aries, your first house, in a conjunction to Saturn in your first house. And there can be the groundwork of some kind of news, of some kind of turn of events. We have this Wheel of Fortune card as to one, if you're going to pull back or not, two, how something is going to get pursued from here. So we have the Knight of Cups and we have the Queen of Wands. Some of you are going to see some kind of opportunity, a financial opportunity to connect with people differently, and you're going to want to pursue something that gives you passion, that fills your heart's content. While for others, it's because other people are getting their way. Other people are living in their lives. They're not being truthful about everything, and the secrets that have been disrupted. I'm thinking of now that Mars ruled energy of being in Scorpio. can also put other things into perspective of how things are going to continue forward. Now, the other thing that I want to bring up is the fact that as we continue through October after this full moon, your 8th house and your 12th house are going to be the most highly activated areas of the sky. The 8th house can be a death house, so can the 12th. And some of you might be having to either one, transform and heal something based off of what gets activated in this full moon. This is not going to be all immediate what I'm saying next. For others, it is going to force you to withdraw because you're going to have to deal with something that is going to be very dark and very heavy throughout the rest of the year. Because again, the two most activated houses after this full moon and as this month progresses are going to be death houses. It doesn't have to be your death. It can be a figurative death. It can literally be the death of a family member. There can be things that speak to things that need to come to a close, cleanse, ending, but also reversal of a power struggle. But the activation is in the full moon. And it sets the stage for how a vibration of energy is going to continue for the next few weeks, at minimum, the next 6 months, more likely. Be aware of that. Because I don't feel like it's just one thing right now. Like it's a multitude of things that just likes to come in one thing at a time, which is super annoying. But you know the rest is coming. Most of us. Okay. Moving along, moving along, moving along. We're going to continue. We're going to get into Taurus and Taurus risings. Okay, my loves. Your chart ruler is in Virgo. And over the weekend, right before this full moon happened, there was a conjunction to the South Node. Many of you might have had downloads as to something that needed to be released, something that needed to be purged, a change that you needed to do in your body, but it hasn't quite made sense quite yet. Some of you could have had some level of insecurity around your children or around a loved one that started to get awakened over the weekend that gets amplified in this full moon. And part of the decision and communication that needs to be had is focused on another person. It's focused on the other side. Why am I saying that? Because Mercury is going to arrive in your 7th house of relationships and legal matters. Mars, the ruler of this full moon, is in your 7th house of relationship and legal matters. That Mercury Pluto square, that's going to be from your 7th house of relationships up to your 10th house of career. There is something about the other side, the arrival, the news, the communication. You kind of felt it stewing over the weekend before the full moon actually hit. There might have been a lot of emotions that kind of bubbled up to the surface of discovering that something has been going on behind your back. Some of you are going to be discovering and having something specific come to light that you were not anticipating. Now, for some of you, in the long run, it's going to result in healing. It's going to result in putting something new. But I feel like we have to have the epiphany first as to how certain people behave and what's going on in the world before we can fully understand everything. You're not going to completely understand the vibration around the other side for a while. There's something that it speaks to a new opportunity that again cannot initially be seen as clear. So there can be some frustration. Anytime you have a 12th house full moon, it brings up the past. It brings up insecurities. It can bring up some things that are very, very depressing. 3 of Swords energy. It can also be where we discover that something has been going on behind our back, cheating, that type of thing. 3 of Swords energy. The things that have been going on in secret can come to light, especially if there are other parties at play. Either they can be the ones bringing something to light, or it can be their actual secret that's bringing up all the judgment and insecurity. 3 of Swords vibration. But there is, with the next card being the Sun card, literally something that's meant to come to light, that's coming into focus. Now, for some people, it is going to shake your confidence and put you into a different perspective as to how you continue forward. Many of you are going to find yourselves maybe not directly in the full moon, but in the weeks between like the full moon, which of course is the 6th, all the way to the end of the month. I'm just going to say it that way, where you end up leaving something or someone behind. How soon that happens, human effect is going to be different for anybody, for everybody. But we have this 6 of Swords energy which is literally in a traditional deck, a woman in a rowboat going into the void. Like it's completely rowing into a fog, but you can't even see where she left behind because even it is foggy. And in her mind, regardless of where she lands, it's gotta be better than what we're leaving behind. And for some of you, whatever is coming to light, whatever is coming into focus is something around what you need to leave behind. 12th house full moon. But whatever you're leaving behind, most likely is tied to the other side. Because again, the ruler of the full moon, Mars, is in the 7th house. You need to leave a person behind. You're helping a friend or a loved one leave someone else behind. There is this awakening. Now we have the star card as to like where the potential of things can go. And many of you can be in the support position helping other people. For some of you, you are feeling your own heart's content. We have this King of Cups following the star card, and we're looking at the potential of how to turn something around in the future, because your last card here is this 10 of coins. So I do feel like there is potential, but I also feel like the potential is going to get tested by old people and by old situations and by people coming around from the past and things coming up from the past. And the one thing that I will say to a lot of you is the past always finds a way to come back through. And there's something about past vibrations, past connections, past people that are going to get activated in this full moon, that are going to become a dominant part of the energy as we continue throughout the rest of the month. So be aware of who's coming back around, what's coming to light, what's coming to the surface, who has what going on, who's got your name in their mouth. Because the one thing that I will say about Mercury moving into the 7th is Mercury is the one hosting your chart ruler, Venus in Virgo. So who's got your name in their mouth? Do they have a valid reason to have it in their mouth? Or are they just going to be somebody that's causing drama, that's causing shit? I'm going to remind everybody, next month, when we get into November, Mercury will turn retrograde. One half of that retrograde is going to be in Sag, but the other half is going to be in Scorpio. So the arrival of new people or someone from the past coming back through, but they have some kind of intention towards you, is likely in the long run going to be a part of a testing energy that we deal with throughout the rest of the year. And if you know that before we get into it, then it can make it very, very easy to keep certain people at arm's length, because that's going to be the best way to protect yourself. Be aware of that. Now, if the Venus South Node conjunction over the weekend going into that full moon had some level of impact to the body, because again, Venus is your chart ruler, and some people had some kind of internalized activation of either what we needed to release and let go of, Venus conjunct South Node, or it was where we needed to move away from. There could have also been something around our health and our body. And if you had downloads around the body days before this full moon, not directly during the full moon, but like in the weekend before, as something that we need to do different in the body, that's probably going to be a big part of your focus once Venus goes into Libra. And that's going to start a week after the full moon. The full moon's on the 6th. I'm saying that Venus will enter Libra roughly around the 13th. And that then we can be having a whole new focus. And again, how you're caring for yourself and how you're caring for other people. So be aware of that part too. Shifts in the routine, shifts in health, shifts with pets. That can be in the horizon after. Okay, moving along. For Geminis and Gemini risings. Okay, your chart ruler is one of our troublemakers right now. So Mercury is going to enter Scorpio, which is your 6th house of health, how you care for yourself, how you care for other people, things going on with pets. There can be things that are going on in your health, things from a past job that's coming back around, that there's something that is arriving in this energy that's not easy to see, but it can put you into a very inquisitive, deep dive energy as Mercury through Scorpio continues. There is an arrival. Now, the full moon itself is in your 11th house of friends and network and clients and colleagues and people you like to share your space with. Some of you are going to be doing something different with your friend groups, doing something something different with your clients. Some of you are trying to put something together that you weren't necessarily completely prepared for. It was just one of those things that you had an itch for a while. I think all of us has had a bit of an itch with Uranus and Gemini. I feel like you guys have really had an itch as to like something that you're wanting to do, but for you to be able to really elaborate on the vibration of what you're wanting to do, there is an activation of a deep dive coming through now that Mercury is in Scorpio. We need to do some digging. We need to talk about the stuff that we don't know. We need to look into things that we don't know. We've got a lot of plans going on. We have a lot of focus going on, and we have a lot of long-term energy in this vibration for you guys, given Mercury's arrival into Scorpio during this full moon. Now, Mercury is going to hit that square to Pluto. That's not going to be fun for some of you guys. And there can be some kind of triggered insecurity around your health or the health of someone else once we get into that Mercury-Pluto square. Now, that's exact on Tuesday, but as soon as Mercury goes into Scorpio, we're already in it as soon as it arrives. So we can have something around our health or someone else's health, a friend's health that becomes a dominant part of the force and a dominant part of the energy as soon as we start the week between Monday and Tuesday. It's just very amplified based off of that full moon's vibration. Now, if we are going into the deep diving energy, for a lot of you, there is preparing that needs to be done. There is prep work. We have this Four of Swords and we have the Seven of Coins. What I'm looking at with Mercury's arrival is that Mercury is now in Mars' sign. We're building now to the Mars-Mercury conjunction that's going to happen exactly on the 20th. But remember, that is going to be the first in the series of 5. 555. It's going to encompass basically the next 6 months once it happens, from October 19th, 20th, all the way until April 19th, 20th, like 6 months. And there is a lot of prep work that needs to be done. Now, for you, some of you, that prep is going to be your health, the best way that you're doing something in your health. For some of you, the prep work is going to be how you care for yourself, how you are a service to other people, and how you are working through something there. Some of you, the prep work is how you're going to be shifting things in your routine for an upcoming change that hasn't fully made sense yet, but we know it's on the horizon. So there's a lot of prep work that comes through, and the Seven of Coins with the Four of Swords together really speaks to that prep work. We're preparing for battle. The Seven of Coins is literally planting seeds with the idea that we're not going to like completely have the crops and the fruit until later on. It takes weeks, months for the plant to grow all the way to flower, all the way to fruit. With the Four of Swords, this is a man laying on an empty casket with his sword next to him, 3 swords on the wall. He is prepared to come back home not alive. He's preparing for the worst. In a lot of ways, he's making a judgment call, judgment card, judgment call, as to where the potential of certain things are going to go. There's like an epiphany with the star card. There's an awakening. The arrival of the potential, the new information that we did not anticipate coming. That I feel like that's a big part of that Mercury Pluto square that is going to put us down the rabbit hole path of how we handle the new information, how we're going to work with that new situation, and how we're going to let some things go, how we're going to work through something from here, how we're going to put some things into motion, because whatever comes next is going to be happening very, very quickly. We have this 8 of Wands energy. 8 of Wands. There's something already in motion. There is change already in motion. There is a path already unfolding. This is already in motion. So much of this energy is already about all gas, no brakes. A lot of this for you guys is going to feel, at least for a while, like all gas, no brakes before you have to do some level of revision. Now, the revision that can come later, specifically through November and December, could be around the people that you surround yourself with, around your friend group, around a clientele, around the people that you work with. There can be something in it about people in your surroundings that we're getting the first inklings of right now that are ultimately going to be changed before the end of the year. So be aware of the news coming through, the people coming through, because how quickly everything moves with that vibration will be mind-boggling. I need you to be aware of that. Everything is already in motion with this Eight of Wands energy. Okay. Okay. We're moving along. We're going to get into Cancers and Cancer risings. Oh, my loves. This is a full moon in your 10th house of career. Your chart ruler, the moon, of course, is in the 10th house of career. Career goals for the future are long-term anticipations, things that are going on with certain family members, specifically father figures or other masculine energy. There can be certain conversations about what's going on with our kids. Why am I saying that? Because again, the full moon in the 10th house, if the 10th house is not focused around career or our goals for the future, if we put the 10th house in the position of a person, the person would be father figures. The ruler of this full moon is in the 5th house, love, luck, romance, happiness, children. Some of our outlook for the future can be based off of what's best for our children. Mars is in the 5th. Some of the outlook for the future might be very, very disruptive with how we connect with certain loved ones. Mars in the 5th. You are feeling something stall and something start to hesitate based off of the fact that Jupiter is slowing down. We're about a month away from Jupiter turning retrograde. And you're feeling the first waves of stagnation. The other thing that you could be feeling in this full moon is your luck starting to shift in regards to where things are going in career. Because as we continue forward, going into the end of this year and the first of next year, a lot of your guys' energy is going to be focused on how other people perceive and how other people are willing to work with you and work for you. And not everybody is going to be upfront with their long-term goals. So we have to be very, very aware of the people that are coming through and what they promise and can they deliver. We need to be diligent, vigilant. Don't just go with something that sounds super fun and harmonious. No. Be safe. Be guarded. Don't sign shit for a while. I'm not just saying that in the Mercury retrograde kind of sense. I'm saying don't sign shit for a while. If you've already signed stuff, that's one thing, but I wouldn't sign off on anything this week. Some of you are going to get pressure to sign off on something that you're not seeing clearly. And it's like you're not going to figure that out until the springtime, most specifically in January. But I feel like there is a shift in this vibration that really shows you why the hesitancy in regards to how something is going to continue or how a relationship is going to continue moving forward is going to get activated in this full moon. Now, we also have the Seven of Coins for you guys. Seven of Coins is planting the seeds with the idea that you're not going to get the reward. You're not going to get the fruit. You're not going to get the flower until later. We plant the seeds for long-term vibration. A lot of this energy feels like it's planting the seeds for how a lot of the next 6 months is going to go. And considering what we have going on after that, we also have the Seven of Swords energy and regretfully this Three of Swords energy. Now, the Three of Swords, it can be like an insecurity card. It can be a depression card. It can feel like certain things aren't going our way. The Seven of Swords, the Three of Swords can also be about infidelity. Just to be clear, the Three of Swords is not necessarily the most romantical of cards, just to be very clear. The Seven of Swords can also be a betrayal card, but it can also be a betrayal based off of more than just the idea of like third party situations. It can be based off of beliefs. There can be more to the story than just one thing. And that's why I go with the idea that some of you might have, disruptions with like father figures or certain masculine energy that is either testing your patience, testing your luck, testing your fortitude of like how you're willing to, connect with them, how you're willing to work with them. It can really be testing your vibration. And again, pushing some level of hesitancy based off of like their behavior. We have this Knight of Wands energy. And I will be honest, the Knight of Wands sometimes can be kind of like the fuckboy card, just to be clear. It's like somebody that's coming through that's very much tied to their own ideas, their own passion, their own way, and not necessarily with yours. And it really kind of comes down to like who we're surrounding ourselves with and if we're willing to kind of drink the punch. So I got the Six of Cups and I have the Page of Cups following the Knight of Wands. Now, hear me out whenever it comes to this vibration. Some of the people that are going to come through that say that they're supporting your passions, they're learning about you like through the friend group, through the people that you're surrounding yourself with. And I don't want you to take, I don't want to take away from the people that you're surrounding yourself with, your clients, and things along these lines. But I feel like it's going to be very, very easy to jump on the most exciting bandwagon versus the due diligence. There's an impulsiveness to the moon, your chart ruler, being in Aries. And you're not necessarily going to be able to immediately pick up on the fact that there is a long-term vibration that's playing out here that needs a level of solution that we can't initially make a decision on. We can't initially see. I don't want you guys to rush into agreements. I don't want you guys rushing into signing anything because I feel like in some way, by the time we get into the springtime, you're going to have a regret. It's not going to be the way that you think it is. It's not going to be completely clear. So I still want you to stay focused on the lateral movement and who you surround yourself with and the networking, and not so much, again, growing the idea. I keep using like a taco truck situation. Like we could go from taco truck to brick and mortar, but right now we're not jumping to brick and mortar. We're staying with the taco truck and we're growing the following around the taco truck. Some of y'all are the taco truck and you need to have a good following, good fan base, a good group of people that surround you, good tribe that surrounds you and knows your worth. Because that's the best way to continue to heal whatever you need to in your confidence with Jupiter in the first, knowing that a month from now, Jupiter will go retrograde. And we don't want to be in a situation to where our confidence is being shaken. We need to recognize that we're getting to a point that our confidence needs to start healing. But the healing is going to mean bringing up old tests and old situations, bringing old people back around in some way, even if we can't initially pick up on it. So be aware of that. Okay, moving along. We're going to get to Leos and Leo risings. All right, my loves. Oh, this is a full moon in your ninth house. Higher education, higher learning, the things that we do with the school systems, the things that we're doing with the colleges, the things that we're doing with other types of institutions like hospitals or prisons or courthouses. There can also be a lot of news or communication or planning that really gets amplified in this full moon because Mercury is going to enter your fourth house of home life, family, roots, ancestry, mothers, matrons. And it's going to hit that square to Pluto. Some of y'all might be dealing with a family situation that's also got some level of contract, Pluto in the seventh, legality, Pluto in the seventh, something tied to another person, Pluto in the seventh. Very much involved in the immediate. Like we're having something new that's coming through that requires more information. It's going to require some digging. It's going to require a certain amount of judgment energy. It's going to require a certain amount of truth that needs to come to light in the long run from some level of an authority figure. Some of you, the authority figure is going to be very clear up front, but you don't even realize that the decision around the authority figure is going to play into the long-term energy because it's like full moon in the ninth house. Say you're dealing with your kids going to school or something like that. You go to the school, you talk to the teacher, you talk to the principal. I've got this Hierophant card, and you hear some level of information. There's some level of a judgment call. Things are right here. But the judgment call isn't yours. It's like, because the school didn't like how the conversation went, they're calling someone else, and it's going to impact the family. Mercury now in the fourth house. There's something going on with the teachers, with the school, or something along these lines. I have a couple of Leo risings that you guys have actually messaged me saying the teachers are going on strike. And I believe that this is going to be a big thing going on in Canada. So what's going on with the kids? They got to stay home. And the parents are having to take on that extra level of teaching or that extra level of care. There's something that's directly impacting like the family. So we have these levels of like dealing with a higher authority figure in a judgment call that immediately has some level of impact and requires an action. It requires a reaction. Now, again, others of you are going to be dealing with more of that Mercury Pluto square. Mercury in the fourth house of home life, and family. And part of us are we going to be doing some type of like new information, new exchange. We have the Ace of Cups and the Six of Coins, an exchange in goods. But it's like we're hiring a contractor. Mercury squaring Pluto. Someone to fix something in the plumbing. We're talking to the landlord to get something repaired, and where you're getting, or you've already talked to the landlord to get something repaired, and now we're like, this is the contractor, like, okay, the plumber is going to be there on Tuesday and they're going to need access, they're going to need whatever. There's some level of exchange based off of the new that's coming through, and that's here with the Six of Coins and the Ace of Cups. Now for some of you, this Magician card, the Magician card is a Mercury card. It's a mercurial card. It can have alchemy. Some of you, it's not the landlord. Like, you have to pay for it. Like, you're having to pay for the plumbers to come out. You're having to pay for the repairs. You're having to deal with certain things. So you need everything you do put in writing. Now, if you're doing some kind of contract repairs or something like that, you need it in writing. With Cancer risings, I literally said, I don't want them signing anything for a while, but with you guys, sign, document, CYA, all the filings, all the paperwork, all the things need to be done, because King of Swords is your last card. You can't get emotional about what conversations are going to be had here. We need to stay to the facts, the figures, the receipts. We need to stick to the plan. We need to stick to whatever is being had. Because if we get emotional, if we put our emotions into it, I'm sticking with the King of Swords on this one right here, then it's going to cloud up the actual facts of the situation. The information is so highly important, and it is going to be critical, and it is going to be analyzed, but it's going to be a big part of how things are going to continue and progress from here. So you need to cover your ass on all levels when it comes to the filing, when it comes to the documents, when it comes to the contracts, when it comes to the plan. Information is so key and so important. And anyone you talk to, especially if we're going into bigger things, CYA, whether that means contracts, whether that means NDAs, whether that means emailed communication versus, phone calls, whatever that means for you, keep the communication clear and keep your emotions out of it. It's the best advice for whatever the arrival is around this Mercury Pluto square, which again is just getting amplified through the full moon in the ninth. Now, a more mundane way that the ninth house stuff can come through is there can be travel, talking about travel to go see family members, but you're not necessarily initially doing it, but maybe you're booking the trip. And again, CYA, make sure you have all your documentation. Make sure you put a lot of things in order, telling other people like, yes, I'm going to be there at X date, whatever that date is, can be different for everybody. But there can be some kind of news, planning, arrival, information. For some of you, it's going to be heavier than others. Kind of depends on who your Time Lord is at this moment. Okay, moving along. Moving along. We're going to get to Virgos and Virgo risings. Your chart ruler is a part of the mess. Now, the thing is like the full moon in the eighth house isn't a heavy placement for you guys, but it is a financial placement. So there can be something about the cost of something, the investment around something. There can be some kind of plan or analogy about how something is going to work out. There can be some kind of payoff in some way. For some of you, the payoff or it might also be kind of like more of a purchase. What I'm looking at is it's a full moon in the eighth house: death, debt, taxes, inheritance, insurance, loans, something along these lines. Very financial element, but your chart ruler, Mercury, is going into your third house of communication, travel. So we could be talking about like the cost of something to repair a car. There can be the cost of some level of travel. There can be the investment of something tied to an automobile, tied to traveling. You can also have to do with some kind of like insurance or inheritance payout and how it's going to impact family members, specifically your siblings. There can also be something tied to cousins. There can be something tied to that financial element that is just very dominating for the moment, but I don't necessarily know that it's going to be the end all be all the way through. Now, Mercury in the third house, again, travel, communication, marketing, community, plans, neighbors, things along these lines. There can be a shift that's being discussed that we're not initially doing all of the shifts. So I do mean a discussion that's going to take time to put things into order because of like how tricky some of the energy is going to go. But it really kind of comes down to the kind of weighted financial decision, full moon in the eighth, that is starting to come through, that is either being forced upon you or has been shown to you. And for some of you, this might be something that has already been going on for a while, because what I'm looking at is with this particular two of coins, I always pay attention to the fact that the upper coin looks like an eclipse. A lot of what's coming through right now directly goes back to the Virgo eclipse, the new moons in Virgo all the way around. So from late August into late September, that transitional vibration has pushed something new forward through eclipse season. And for everything to become more fair and balanced, we need to make the right kind of decision, or we need to make a specific decision right now as to how things are going to progress from here and what's going to be best for everyone and what's going to fill your heart's content. We go from the Two of Coins to the King of Cups. Some of you are going to be having to deal with the fact that not everybody wants to pay out certain things. Four of Coins. Some of you are going to be having to, again, spend some extra money that you were not anticipating spending. Four of Coins. You were trying to hold on to some things, and little by little, we're like one expense after another. Like, how many more things are going to break on the car? How many more things are going to break in the house? There has been some level of extra thing coming through that can have a financial impact. Now, for some of you, it's not going to be the extra thing in regards to expenses. It's going to be the extra thing in regards to investments. And for a lot of you, this can lead to a lot of prep work. We have this Four of Swords energy. The arrival of Mercury going into Scorpio, being that new energy, I'm not quick to say like you've been preparing for something. I feel like more along the lines of like a lot of you are finding out you need to prepare for something, or the preparation you have done is going to get tested as to whether we have the right idea of how things are going to go. I feel like a lot more people, you're going to become aware of the prep work, still going off of the Four of Swords, for a long-term energy, a long-term partnership, long-term goals to be able to manifest. In our last two cards, we have the Emperor card and we have the Ten of Cups. That new moon in Virgo was opposite Saturn in your seventh house. Many of you were trying to put some things forward based off of a partnership that's been going on for a while, Saturn in the seventh. But again, there has been little tests and shakes as to whether that's going to work or not, whether that's going to continue or not. Some of us are really having cracks in our belief system tied to the other side. And again, the Four of Swords can speak to the preparing yourself to let something go, preparing yourself to leave something behind or leave someone behind. For other people, it's going to be things that are coming back up whenever it comes to the other side. Partnerships on any level. I'm not quick to go just with relationships. I mean, partnerships on any level. There's going to be something about the work that needs to be done based off of the judgment calls from the other side. And that might not be immediate in the full moon. That might actually take a few days for you to be able to see the judgment call in regards to the results of how you're going to take something forward in the long term. And that 10 of cups speaks to our long-term goals. We want those perfect tens. We want things to work out. But for us to get to our long-term goals, there's a little bit of house cleaning, there's a little bit of prep work, there's a little bit of putting some things to bed that needs to happen. And I feel like a lot of things are going to get communicated as to what that long-term vibration is going to look like before we can finally reach into it, meet with it, and do something with it. It's like we're setting the stage for something that's going to become more dominant later on. Okay, moving along. Moving along. We're going to get to Libras and Libra risings. This is a full moon in your seventh house of relationships and partnerships and legal matters. However, your chart ruler, Venus, is in the 12th house of the unknown, the unseen, endings, betrayal, release, healing, letting some things go. Some of you are going to be dealing with the closeout of a legal matter. Full moon in the 7th, while your chart ruler is in the 12th. Some of you are going to learn that somebody on the other side isn't who they said they were. Full moon in the 7th, while your chart ruler is in the 12th house of the unknown, the unseen, and endings. Some of you, to finally get something to end and to get something to close out, we're going to be paying some money out. Why do I go to the money now? Mercury is now in your second house of money, assets, the way that you spend money, the way that you make money. And this Mercury is going to hit the square to Pluto. Now, the square to Pluto is the most exact on Tuesday, but as soon as Mercury arrives there on Monday, we're in that square. We're in that vibration. So there's something here about the new that's coming through right around this full moon that can either be like the ending of a partnership and you're going to have to pay something out, the ending of a certain connection that's going to cost you money, or it's finalizing the totals of something and trying to recognize whether you can afford Mercury and Mars in your second house of money to continue. And some of you are going to be having to come to terms with the fact that you have to let go of a partnership, relationship, a connection with other people based off of that full moon in the 7th house. There is some facing of fears and some hard financial things that are going to impact a lot of you. And some of this we're not ready to face yet. We're not ready to believe. But we have this 8 of swords in addition to this 5 of coins. The 8 of swords is having to face the fact, face certain truths, face certain fears, face certain things, aren't able to continue. The 5 of coins is a desolate card. It's a bankrupt card. There can be something that is coming from the other side that's going to impact your finances. There can be something that's coming from the other side that you recognize that you need to let go of. For some people, it will be financial. For other people, it's not going to be financial. It's just going to be coming to terms with the fact that who we think we know isn't who we actually know. And then we also have this 10 of swords following the 8 of swords and 5 of coins. Like all 3 of these actually came out together. So there is something that speaks to a cutoff, a release, a purge. I am tired of their drama, always taking me back, always triggering me, always bringing. I'm done. Block. Anyone that we have in common, block. Not doing it anymore. That's done. Because if I finally get this off my plate, then I can focus on something else. And that focus can be more towards your new long-term path, what you're wanting to do in career, where you're wanting to bring more focus, and how we start to regain certain levels of confidence. The sun is in Libra. It is in your first house. And if you focus on what's able to bring your confidence level up, then by next week, when Venus comes into Libra, it's like the more you focus on your confidence, the more attention that falls onto you. Venus coming into the first house. In the long run, though, a lot more of the potential of where we're going next is about trying to get some level of solution in order, or getting a long-term plan in order for what we want in career. And I'm thinking of that vibration of Jupiter in the 10th. And we have a lot of long-term goals that are going to start to come through with that 10 of coins. And that can also speak to that Mercury and Mars vibration in your second house of money. That the long-term financial goals of where we want to go next, what we're doing next in life, how we're going to continue moving forward, we need to focus on them in a very different way, because focusing on the minute stuff tied to other people and their problems and their drama, it's just continuously taking you back to a place that you don't belong. It's lowering your vibration. And by recognizing that those people aren't your people anymore, and finally cutting it down, cutting it off, letting it go, and let Venus come into Libra, which again, that's not going to happen until closer to October 13th. It can bring a whole different level of attention onto you in a positive light. Don't hold on to the past. Don't hold on to people from the past. If there's some level of financial payout that you got to do to be able to finally let go of it, pay that money out and move on. So you can start focusing on something different. Because there is a long-term goal in regards to what we want going on in the future. And the 10 of coins speaks to that long-term goal. But to get to that 10 of coins, remember, we also had the 10 of swords. There's something that needs to get squashed. There's something that needs to end. There's something that needs to get done before we can fully focus on the long-term goals. So be aware of that. Okay, moving along. Moving along. We're going to get to Scorpios and Scorpio risings. Some of us are the problem. I'm going to be real honest about that. Some of us, we're the problem. Some of us, we're the decision makers. Some of us, we're going to say the shit that triggers somebody else. Some of us are going to completely blindside other people. In some ways, Scorpio risings, some of us are the problem. That doesn't mean we're wrong. Now, this is a full moon in the 6th house, how we care for ourselves, how we care for other people. There can be things going on with our pets, just to be aware of that. But there also seems to be like something that needs to get revealed, some kind of truth, some type of information that's going to impact the people that we surround ourselves with. We need to finally speak a certain truth that we've probably been holding on for a while, because the thing about us, if we see a truth, we don't immediately come out and say it all the time, because we recognize just how blunt, rude, brash we come across. We are both ruled by Mars and Pluto. Sometimes our tone is everything. Even if we're saying something nice, our tone triggers the insecurity of someone else. But I'm looking at the arrival of Mercury coming into the 1st house. Some of you are going to have news delivered. Some of you are going to have some kind of health thing come to light. Some of you are going to have something come to the surface somewhere between Monday and Tuesday, letting you know something is completed. Full moon in the 6th, some type of work, some type of service, it is completed. For some of you, there's going to be some level of a decision or some kind of news or communication that it's time to level something up. Some of you are going to be announcing it's time to level something up. And the thing is, there's still some kind of truth in the mix for a lot of us. There's a plan in the works, but that plan, it's a long-term plan. It's not something that we can do right now. So we have a lot of work that needs to be done first, but we also have a lot of balancing energy that needs to be done first also. So the King of Swords, we have the 7 of Swords, and we have this Justice card. Now hear me out. Mercury was in Libra before it came into Scorpio. The 12th house, the unknown, endings, hidden enemies, withdrawn energy, healing energy. Mercury was in Libra, going back to this Justice card, before it came into Scorpio. Some of you guys have been contemplating what you need to do to make something feel fair, righteous. And for some of you, the fairness is to cut someone off, regardless of how hard that is. And for a lot of you, that cutoff is going to be something that impacts your family in some way, because that cutoff feels like it's a dominant part of the Mercury Pluto square. Mercury in your first house, squaring Pluto in the fourth house of home, home life, and family. You could be cutting off another person because of the way their energy impacts the home life. For some of you, you're going to be cutting off a family member because of how their actions have been proceeding over the last few months. And it's just constantly grinding your gears. It's constantly bringing up an insecurity. And it's been rather frustrating. But again, you've held your tongue. But after so much time of having Mars in Scorpio and Mars in your first house, blunt, brash, to the point, I got something to say. I have no problem with saying it to you. Energy. And once Mercury comes in, blah, something's going to come out. Something's going to be heard. And not everybody's going to like the truth, King of Swords, that needs to be said. But the thing is like, you're so emotionally disconnected, King of Swords, you don't care. It's the exact truth that everybody needs to hear. It's the exact decision that everybody needs to hear. It's the certain communication that needs to be said because of how much effort you have put into making something work to protect someone, to put something in order for so long. And now it's just kind of realizing that person sucks. Sorry. The situation sucks. All of this sucks, and I don't want to keep doing it. And some like a blah, this blunt, brash, highly opinionated conversation piece that comes out very quickly becomes like an epiphany. It's a release. It's healing. Finally saying what's on our chest, what's on our mind, what's on our heart. But I'm not saying it from an emotional sense. I'm saying it in the sense of like, I have held my tongue for months. And I'm tired of holding my tongue whenever you keep just doing the same thing over and over again. I'm tired of committing to the insanity, waiting for you to have changed behavior. It's not going to happen. In a lot of ways, in this full moon, we're going to be the problem. And it comes from that Mercury in the first house squaring Pluto, one of the chart rulers. We're going to say something. We're a part of the news. We're a part of the delivery. We're a part of the problem. Now, your next two cards, these aren't heavy. We have the Three of Coins and we have the Three of Cups. Sometimes you have to make space and clear someone out because they're impacting the work, they're impacting the community, they're impacting our surroundings, they're impacting the camaraderie. The Three of Coins is a work card. We're trying to be productive. We're trying to put something in order. The Three of Cups is like that community surroundings card. We have people in our surroundings that are also getting impacted from the situation, from the other person, from the thing that we've been let go on and slide for months. Why am I specifically saying it that way? Because we've had so much going on between Virgo and Libra simultaneously since August. We've had certain situations of other people getting under our skin and us trying to work through the motion and trying to make the best out of situation. And now that a lot of the things that's been going on that we've been trying to make the best of from the 11th and 12th house, more so the 12th house, then things start to arrive in your first house and it's coming on to you of like, it's time to make a judgment call. And many of you, us, Scorpio risings, we're going to be making the judgment call. We're going to be saying something that's going to trigger the insecurity on the other side, in another person, in the situation. It's a level of accountability that only we can provide. And it's just going to be amplified in the full moon's energy, in the full moon's vibration. The news, the announcements, the decision that's coming from us, Scorpio risings. We're going to make somebody mad in this full moon. It's very, very likely. Like percentage wise, I would say it's like 70% of us, we're going to make somebody mad. In other ways, we're going to have some level of insecurity that's brought back up around the family, around the home life. But I don't feel like that's going to be for everybody. And then other people are going to have the mundane situation of like some kind of service work is finally finalized or prepared or dealt with. And we're going to have some final signatures, final stuff in this regard, in regards to like how we're going to pay something out or how we're going to work with certain people moving forward. That's more like the 30%, but I feel like it's about 70%. We're going to be the problem. We're going to have something to say. So there's that. Have fun. This is super great. Moving along. Moving along. We're going to get to Sagittarius and Sagittarius risings. Okay, my loves. This is a full moon in your fifth house of love and luck and joy and romance and happiness and children. However, the ruler of this full moon of love, of luck, of joy, of romance and happiness and children, it's in your 12th house. The unknown, the unseen, endings, healing, insecurity. Some of you might have some level of insecurity come up because of something that's being said by your kids. And sometimes your kids don't even realize they're saying something, like they're your kids or a loved one or somebody in your family, like they're saying something and it's just like, oh, I didn't even know that would hit. I didn't know I felt that way. I didn't know I was hurt. For some of you, you're going to have some kind of shift in your luck in regards to your career or outlook for the future. What I'm looking at is Mercury is also going to enter the 12th, hitting that square to Pluto. Pluto can be in the third house, can have to do with community. It can have to do with neighbors. It can also have to do with siblings. But what I'm looking at is Mercury was also in Libra. It was in Venus's sign for a little bit. Venus is still in that 10th house of career. There can also be some kind of final announcements or final decisions from the workplace that trigger an insecurity, that trigger a fear, that trigger a frustration about either the decisions that are on the horizon or the decisions that have already been made. There's something that feels like it's very much triggering insecurity. Now, the thing is a full moon in the fifth shouldn't immediately feel like a trigger of insecurity. And I don't know that it will for everybody. For some people, it might be like healing through laughter. And that's a more mundane way to look at it, is like you're doing something super fun, fifth house, full moon. But it's like because you went with that person, you went to that place, you went back to some place from your childhood, you did that extra thing. It also allows for some other kind of healing that you didn't even know you needed because Mars is in the 12th. But it's not going to all be that kind of situation. It's not going to be all getting in touch with our inner child. And the layers speaks to something regarding an insecurity being triggered. I want to be clear that it's being triggered. It's like some kind of news of a change, but it's not an immediate change. It's going to be some kind of news that brings forth some level of fear or depression or insecurity, or it's going to be the news of a loved one doing something shady behind your back because now again your 12th house is being activated. This Three of Swords energy, it can be an insecurity, depression, not so fun kind of card, but it can also be like three is a party and we can have that level of third party situations. Three's company, two. So just to be clear, there's something in this that can speak to betrayal. Now, for some of you, depending on the news, the information, Knight of Swords, the truth that comes out, for some of you, it's going to trigger you to go inward. It's going to trigger you to want to go inward and stay a little bit more reclusive. The other thing about Mars and Mercury in your 12th house is some of you, like the levels of exhaustion are going to amplify, especially when more planets go into your 12th house. So it's like you can't get enough sleep. That's a big possibility whenever you're going through 12th house stuff. And it's like, I don't have the time for all of this, or I don't have the capacity for all of this. And it's like you put as much effort as you need to. We have this Three of Coins energy. But then as soon as we get through the work, as soon as we get through that effort, then it's withdrawal, disconnect. I'm going to bed. I don't want to be around anybody. I'm just going to sit here and veg out. I'm going to watch some Netflix. I'm going to do something with the dogs. I am not engaging in anyone in anything. And for some people, the disconnection is necessary to give clarity. Got the Sun card. For other people, the disconnection can give clarity in regards to the decision. Now, for some of you, there's a decision of upcoming change that we need time to meditate on, we need to get better clarity on. For other people, it is a past decision that now we need time to get clarity on. We need time to put some different things into perspective. We need to prepare ourselves to making a different kind of decision. The thing about those Mercury-Mars conjunctions is the first one, it is in the 12th house of the unknown, the unseen, and endings. The second one will be in Sagittarius. That's the one that's going to happen around November 12th in your first house during Mercury retrograde. Even if you are not ready to change your mind about something right now, you want to wait, you want to see how some things play out, you want to just give it some time, and that's normal. That's a normal response. And what I'm telling you is that by the time we get into Mercury retrograde, you're going to make a different decision. I just don't know that all of you are making your immediate different decisions right now. I feel like there's going to be tests to the decisions and confirmations that have already been made that are going to force you to reconcile and make different decisions later on. But I think the awareness of the future change, that change is more so going to be in November, literally a month away. But the first inklings, the first awareness, the first little snits at little things that's coming out. Some people, times you're just talking to your sibling. I'm thinking of Mercury hitting that square to Pluto, Pluto being in the third house. It can be a sibling's house. It's like talking to your sibling about what's going on with your parents or what the plan is. But as soon as you start talking to them, it's like something doesn't hit right. Something kind of stings. It's like in your shoulder blade. It's like, oh, I don't like the way that feels. Where is that coming from? There's a reason that you feel that little snit, that little in your spine, in your back of, I gotta shake that off. It's telling you, whatever's coming through around these few days, it's telling you that what you think is going to make you happy is likely not going to be the thing that you think it is. And anything that's hitting your spine and rubbing you the wrong way, you need to slowly start to become a little bit more hands-off, because it might be the decision that we end up rethinking later on. But I feel like the sun is going to start to give light to the fact that we're going to have a test in this area. We're going to have to make a change in this area, whether we like it or not. And I just feel like there's an awareness of said change in this vibration, not the actual change itself. So be aware of that. Okay, moving along. For Capricorns and Capricorn risings, this is a full moon in your fourth house of home life, family, roots, ancestry, mothers, matrons, people that you surround yourself with. The ruler of this full moon, Mars, is in your 11th house of friends and network and clients and colleagues. Some of you are going to be talking to your friends about what's been going on with your mom, what's been going on with the family. Some of you are going to be talking to your friends about the family life dynamics. It could be your family life, it could be their family life, that some kind of change is in the atmosphere. Some of you are looking at wanting to make something happen, but you're feeling stuck. The energy is like, but I've got some potential. There's something very promising in the future. I can feel it. But then there's some part of the energy that keeps going, but not yet. Why is it saying that? What is going on? Remember, your chart ruler, Saturn, retrograde back into Pisces. And we have some unfinished business, unfinished awareness around emotions and healing that need to get addressed. And some of the people you surround yourself with might also be letting you know that you might need to do some additional healing. You might have some additional work that needs to be done. There might be additional things going on. And it again can be an impact of the home life, something going on in the family. things going on with people in your surroundings that aren't easily navigated, that aren't easily able to be recognized or seen. A lot of Capricorn risings, you're feeling the stagnancy in the energy. And considering like this was the first card to come out is the Hangman, there's a reason you're feeling stuck. You're feeling stagnant. You're feeling like things are happening more for other people than they are for you. And that's because we have these final lessons of Saturn and Pisces that need to be worked through, that need to be addressed. We have final conversations that need to be had. Five of Swords energy with people in our surroundings, people that we've cared about, people that we've worked with in the past. We have some final level of healing that needs to be addressed before the full term of what our new normal is going to look like in 2026. And for you guys in particular, it's coming to terms with certain levels of emotional healing. Some of you had to do that emotional healing on your own for a real long time. And now you're in the dynamic if you're trying to do it in partnership, but it's like the partner, Jupiter, in the seventh, is triggering the insecurity. Things aren't ready, things aren't happening fast enough, something is slowing down. And some of you might just be telling your friends what the plan is of what certain things are going to do. Just got to get our money in order. Mercury hitting the square to Pluto. We're just trying to get a few things lined out. And then after so much time, you're going to realize like, that's not quite what I thought it was. It's not quite going as fast as I thought it was going to go. And there's going to be some level of triggered insecurity that forces you to go deal with some level of emotional healing that was not dealt with properly before. There is a reason to go back. We have to work on something before we can pursue the fullest elements of our heart's content. When I look at what the Knight of Cups is, that not only is he looking at this lovebird into the future, into his pursuit, but he also wears his heart on his sleeve. For some of you, you have to be more real with your emotions and your desires, but you also have to be real with yourself with what you need to heal to be able to connect with people emotionally. The thing about certain Capricorn placements is y'all don't want to share your emotions. You don't want to talk about them. You just try to be productive. You just try to put your head in the sand. You're just trying to get certain work elements put forward. But that's not what's best to get everything going. And with the Six of Swords, there's a fogginess of how things are going to continue in regards to this long-term connection. We have the Lovers card now. There's a fogginess, there's a haziness, there's a hesitancy as to like how things are going to continue in the family dynamic. There's even a hesitancy in the family dynamic. There's a fogginess in something that's been going on in the family dynamic that is now also going to create a fogginess in regards to how you're connecting to another person, how much support you can give to another person. In the other ways that this can happen, it's like because of what has happened in the family, you need to talk to friends and people in your surroundings as to how to overcome certain situations, what the next steps are going to be, because you can feel like you can't continue without addressing something. Some of you are going to want to address something and just not know how to say something. So you need the people in your surroundings. Mercury, and that's 11th house. You need the people in your surroundings to tell you how to turn something around, to tell you how to put something into focus, to tell you how to do something differently. You have unfinished business regarding the family dynamics, regarding the home life, regarding your own personal healing that is keeping you from being able to continue forward in something whenever it comes to partnership. And the first little inkling of something is going to show itself in this full moon. But it's also showing itself through the arrival of Mercury into Scorpio. There's unfinished business that's going to be a big part of the dominant of the rest of this year. But for you guys, that unfinished business really started to come through in September, the very beginning of September, when Saturn retrograded back into Pisces. Because the dominant energy is taking you guys longer to finally talk about your emotions. Some of you guys are good about it. Others, not so much. So there's that. Moving along. For For Aquarius and Aquarius risings, I don't know how much you guys are going to like this energy. What I'm looking at is that Mercury Pluto square. Pluto is stationing to end its retrograde. And this will be the first time that Pluto has ended a retrograde in your first house. And a lot of you guys, y'all don't know how to handle this. Y'all don't know what you're dealing with. You don't know how to talk through everything. You're just kind of in this spinning, spiraling moment. And for some of you, you need the help of another person. You need that Mercury square. You need someone to talk to you about the future, about goals, how to handle stuff with your siblings. I'm thinking of now full moon in the third house, how to change something in your plan, how to finally face certain fears, how to finally come to the terms with certain things. And for some of you, even harder, how to finally let go of some parts of the past and move towards something better for yourself. And that means making decisions that don't always satisfy your ego. Please note how I'm saying that. I'm not actually just saying that to you guys. I actually said it on the weekly forecast too. That some of this week is going to show you the best solution to get something is not necessarily going to be the thing that satisfies your ego. What's fair and practical for everybody isn't necessarily going to make everybody happy, but it is the best way to work through something out. It is the best way to push something forward. And many of you, to get out of the spiraling effect of Pluto in your first, you have to take the harsh criticism, the harsh conversation, the news, the information of what has been provided to help you finally let something go. So we have this Nine of Swords energy, and we have this Page of Wands. Mercury is in the higher authority of this square. Mercury is in Pluto's sign while Pluto's ending its retrograde in your first house. The judgment, the conversation, the information that's coming through, in some ways, either you have directly caused this situation or the person that's giving you advice, if it's more not judgment, but more of an advice situation, that person has been in your situation before. You just need to listen to them. Mercury hitting the square to Pluto. Now, this Nine of Swords, we've had this mental prison energy, this depression energy, not knowing how to get something put right or put forward. And for us to get something put forward, we're going to have to make some hard decisions that we have not wanted to make. Two of Swords. And for a lot of you to make those decisions, we're going to have to let something go. And now for some of you, that's going to be a person, that's going to be a situation, that's going to be a place. You're just going to have to walk away and let something go. For others, it is getting out of your own damn way. Stop thinking of what's best for your ego and put more practical knowledge into play. I'm literally taking words from the weekly forecast and directly saying them back to you guys right here. Now, the full moon in the third house, it's short distance travel, it's things with our vehicles, it's plans to travel or go somewhere, it's education, it's training, and it can be stuff with our siblings. Either some of us are going to need to commit to some kind of training or advice or some kind of knowledge to be able to put something different into perspective for career. Some of us are going to have to commit to something. And it's like by making the commitment, by taking on the news, by dealing with whatever the decision is in the full moon, in the Mercury Pluto square, it's going to finally help you get over certain things, or it's going to teach you on how to combat certain things. So we have the Seven of Wands and we have the Nine of Cups. These are the last two cards for you guys. Now, the Seven of Wands, it's like, I'm going to fight you on this, but I'm going to fight you with purpose. I'm going to have a soapbox. I'm going to have the facts, the figures, the receipts. I'm going to have the proof. I'm going to have the ability to combat this situation and convince whoever, convince you, convince them, whoever, of something else, of how to turn something around, of how to go in a different way, of how to look at something differently. There's literally the ability to protest in that level of combatants. But we have knowledge, we have extra gumption in our pocket to make this work. It's not just this isn't fair, because that's not going to work for you guys. The Nine of Cups, it is better to be lucky than smart. And for you to finally get certain things in your luck to turn around, we can't just wait on certain things to play out in a mundane sense. We need factual, tangible, legible situations, documentation, proof to turn things around, to put something different into order, to get something different going. Now, for a lot of you, whatever news, advice, arrival, communication, whatever this is, it is in the long run going to be something that starts to impact the home life and not just your finances. Because what I'm also thinking of is about a month from this full moon, Uranus, one of your chart rulers, is going to retrograde back into the fourth house of home, home life, and family. And for some of you, you have to go back, revise, rethink something. And it's like the awareness that we don't want to accept of what we need to go back to is going to come through in this full moon, specifically in the the Mercury Pluto square. For some of you, that decision, that communication, it's going to be the ripple effect, the waves of how you turn something around from here. But you have to accept certain criticism, accept certain judgment, make certain decisions that we don't want to face, going back to these cards, to finally end something, to finally let something go, and to finally turn around something. The thing about Pluto in your first house, even though it's a 20-year cycle, is we have to get over the power struggle dynamics. And Pluto has ways of making you deal with that Plutonian power struggle dynamics on all levels. And it's transforming you as an individual. But for you to be able to fully tap into that level of transformation, there's going to be some hard decisions, hard realities that are going to come through really over the next 6 months. But it's like the first little inklings, the first little words going up on the wall through this full moon, and especially through that Mercury Pluto square. So remember that. All right, moving along. For Pisces and Pisces risings. All right, my loves, this is a full moon in your second house of money, your assets, your stuff. This is not nearly as heavy for you guys as it is for some of the other signs. Now, there can be something where you have to spend some extra money. You're having to pay something off. Some of you are just putting some money towards some education or some travel. Now, why am I specifically saying that? Because I am looking at that Mercury square to Pluto. Now, what I will say is Mercury rules your seventh house of relationships and partnerships. Some of you might be paying someone else, finally paying someone else off, getting something completed so you can focus on something else. Some of you might be getting news from the other side. Again, Mercury rules your seventh house, as to how a power dynamic is going to shift. That's the Mercury Pluto square, but Pluto's in the 12th. So it's not there yet. We're not ready for this power dynamic yet. We're not focused on this yet, but it can be a part of the horizon of how something is going to shift in the future. There is a shift coming. There's a big one coming. And I feel like you guys are really going to feel November in a lot of different ways. And then I'm also thinking of what comes in the springtime. So there's a lot of shifts coming. Maybe not all in this moment. In this moment, it could be something very, very easy. It can be something that you're wanting to purchase. You're putting the money down towards a trip. I'm thinking of Mercury now in the ninth house, but this trip is like, I'm going someplace I've never been before. So you live in the States, but you're booking your trip to, I want to say Bermuda. Like I'm in this like Merlin mode all of a sudden of like, take me to Bermuda. That's what I'm thinking of is Merlin from Sword in the Stone whenever he gets mad. It's like, blow me to Bermuda. It's really what I was doing that. But going somewhere else, going to a foreign country, going someplace we've never been before. But it's like making the deposit, towards that trip, towards that goal, towards unknown lands. And this is a super mundane way for this to go. Some of you are going to be paying some kind of money out towards college or your kids' college or something in regards to that type of thing. Like if it's a field trip, it could be as mundane as that. But it feels like there's just something very interesting in the rollout of some of this energy. And some of it is going to be things that kind of makes you feel like you're in alignment when other people are kind of going through crazy stuff with this temperance cards. Like you kind of feel like you're in alignment. And in other ways, you're going to find yourself in that support mode, that 7 of Wands of like, you're going to find yourself in the place of like supporting other people get through their nonsense and get through their drama after the full moon perfects. Like I don't think it's during the full moon. I feel like it's like over the week after the full moon. A lot of you are going to find yourselves like you are in that support position of like, I'm just trying to help you out. I'm just trying to make things a little bit better. I'm just trying to do what I can to make things a little bit easier. So we have the Queen of Cups energy too. Some of you guys are going to be mothering certain people. Some of you guys are going to be talking things out in regards to the potential of like a romantic partner. But again, it's a support thing. And so for some of you, some of the support is going to be financial. Like it's like, I can help you pay for that. I can help you do this. I can help you pay that bill. I can help you turn some things around. We have this Wheel of Fortune energy. Now, I again want to be clear. Pay attention to the arrival of the news, the conversations, the situations of what is being spoken around October 6th and 7th on all levels, especially the work levels. Because again, we're going to have those Mercury Mars conjunctions. They're going to start around the 20th. But I feel like there's the activation, the arrival of what those are going to look like for a lot of people as soon as Mercury goes into Scorpio. And whenever it comes to the two Mercury retrograde Mercury Mars conjunctions, the two retrograde ones, the two retrograde ones are happening in the Jupiterian signs. The second Mercury Mars conjunction, when Mercury is retrograde, will be in Sagittarius. The fourth one will be in Pisces. There's going to be things that later on, there will be a turn of events of where things need to shift. And some of those are going to be in a career impact for you guys. And some of them are going to be on a personal level for you guys. So you need to be aware of when the writing starts to go up on the wall, because it's going to show you where you're going to have to pursue things later on. So I do want you to clue in, because the long-term financial shift of the next 6 months that can start to unfold based off of the news in this full moon is very, very real, whether you're ready to see it or not. But it feels very, very real. Now, in the moment, it feels like you're in the support position, but I do not think you stay in a support position for long. I've been in a support position for a while. And the thing is after so much time, so many things fall onto your plate that you're not the support person anymore. You're the person in charge. Your support position is going to have some kind of news arrival shift in the information this week, most likely coming from the other side, whether it's a legal matter, partnership, a contractual thing, romantic partnership. We got some King of Cups and Queen of Cups right there coming from the other side that eventually is going to test you. So pay attention to the news, the conversations, and the decisions of this week. They are more important than you're immediately willing to realize. Just clue in. Okay. I love and appreciate every single one of you. I will talk to everybody very, very soon. Subscribe.